Ray. In 14 starts, he's allowed 14 home runs this season, and this is, when healthy, a power-hitting Florida team. Wilson in the leadoff spot is a bit of a surprise. This is just his 4th start of the season. Kevin O'Sullivan has really had to shuffle his lineup due to some late season injuries. And so Wilson getting the start in right field. Really, both coaches have had to do some shuffling here at this point of the season.
Well, if you're going to win, you need guys to perform that you don't expect, and Ashton Wilson, of course, would fall in that category.
Pitch was upstairs to Wilson. You're Tim Corbin at studio show talking about getting guys, especially from a pitching standpoint, to come up big. Maybe guys who haven't seen action during the course of the season. 286 average for Wilson. Hasn't homered this year and promptly sends a fly ball deep to right field. Polk drifting back, and this big ballpark will hold it. Not as big as it used to be, but still plenty of space relative to most teams' home ballparks. And here's Caglione, 3rd in the country in home runs with 29.
This guy's special. We already talked about him in the open. 250 pounds. You can't teach strength, and this guy's as strong as anybody in the country. The OPS is 1.3. Batting average is legit at 413. Looking for his 30th home run on the year.
And he got underneath that one into center for Calvin Hewitt, fighting the sun. 2 down. And that'll bring Colby Shelton to the plate.
One noticeable difference for this Florida Gator lineup: Ty Evans is out. He's their 2nd best guy. Colby Shelton's had a nice year. Luke Heyman having to pull down the 4 spot.
How does that impact Florida?
Well, when you lose one of your better hitters, it impacts it in a big way. Again, this Florida offense is not great, especially in SEC play. They're bottom 3rd, and so they need all the help they can get.
First pitch low and in to Colby Shelton. 5 multi-home run games. Most recently in the opener against Kentucky, sophomore from Lexington, South Carolina. It's a Florida team which has shown a ton of power this season. 6th in the country in home runs with 115, and this ball is in the air to right field. Matthew Polk has plenty of acreage out there, and he puts it away. 3 in the air, 3 outs in the outfield. We go to the bottom of the 1st. Vandy coming up. Not the best defensive shortstop in the league this year, and that is quite an honor in the SEC each and every season. He's a Florida native, and the fastball misses upstairs. 1-0. This is a Vandy team, middle of the pack in the league in average, 6th at 288 as a squad, but 2nd to last in home runs. They only hit 64 of them.
Tim Corbin showing a lot of faith in Vastine, putting him in the leadoff spot. Of course, he's been there, but the lefty-on-lefty matchup here, especially against a 6'8" guy, this is a tough AB.
Randy Johnson-ish.
Randy Johnson-ish. When they let it go, it looks like it's right in front of your face. And also with the arm action of Coppola, you know, when he lets it go, it's behind you to start. And then, of course, everything, the sliders and the cutters are moving away from the barrel.
Vastine is actually hitting the ball better against lefties and righties this season. 34 points higher against southpaws. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sharply hit to short, gobbled up by Shelton, his counterpart. And there's 1 down. Here's how Tim Corbin has put together the batting order today. They moved R.J. Austin to 2nd base from 1st. He's as versatile as a defender as you will find in the league, and so that's perfectly fine with him. Then we see Troy Leneve getting a start in left field down in the 8-hole, and Braden Holcomb over at 1st base with Austin shuffled to 2nd.
And it's nice to see Leneve in the lineup. Tim Corbin calls him the program kid, and like you said, R.J. Austin, the MVP of this tournament last year. He's hit .319 this year. He's 1st on the team in RBIs.
Diaz has 7 home runs and a .264 average. And that one's low and in. Homered in each of the last 2 games in Lexington to end the regular season against Kentucky. And he also homered in a penultimate SEC series against Florida, but went just 2 for 11 that weekend. Pardon me, that was in mid-April. That was a series in which Vandy won 2 out of 3. Took game number 1 convincingly, 10-5. Upstairs. Capola's first pitching appearance in over 2 years came against South Carolina on April 13th. Just trying to work him back into shape, and man, when he is on, especially with that height, it is something special.
And we saw that against Arkansas. He was on a pitch count, went 3, but really dealt on that team. And he's got the ability, and of course with the size, you can't teach that. And right now, when he's a little amped up, that 6'8" frame, it's hard to get the ball down. He's got a little run with the fastball. A little anxious here in the first.
94 on the black is a nice way to ease that anxiety. 2 down.
Yeah, that was nice. And what you usually factor in, again, with a guy that big, is you can get away with balls middle in. And right there, that's something that Davis Diaz was not looking for. If you're looking off speed and he pumps that fastball in there, you're going to get froze up.
So here's Austin, as Todd mentioned, tournament MVP last year. Went 7 for 18 with a home run and a couple of doubles. Sophomore out of Atlanta. First Grady High School and then Pace Academy. Grew up a big-time Braves fan. Blowing in, 1 ball, 1 strike. He had a good series against Florida last month, 4 for 15 with 1 of his 5 home runs. He also tripled and doubled. In the air towards the bleachers down the right side and into the screen, and then the catch made by Caglione.
Or did he catch it?
That is amazing. By the #1 strength of schedule. Here's Luke Heyman to lead off the second.
Well, they play in the state of Florida, so now you got Florida State, you're playing Miami, you're playing Stetson, UCF. I mean, the midweek games for Florida are tough. That's why they don't have more wins than they do. But they've got series wins over A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, and Georgia. So Florida, as a 13-win team, has a lot of argument to get into the field of 64.
Heyman pokes it the opposite way, and it's a leadoff single to start the second. You mentioned it. They had 6 series against would-be hosts, and they won 3 of those, including a series win against an A&M team that was #1 in the country for some time. 13 top 25 wins, and the KPI is better than the RPI. That, at its most basic, measures how I would do with your schedule and how you would do with my schedule. And yeah, there's 26 losses on this season. There's a lot of teams that would have taken more than 26 had they played Florida's schedule. Cade Curlin fouls it off.
Well, and you got a head coach that's won the first and only national championship in Florida baseball history, and I played against some really good Florida teams. So that's saying a lot. Kevin O'Sullivan knows how to get it done. And they're not great in the stats within the conference of the 30 games offensively or as a staff, but they've got some talent.
And 2 out of 3 that they took from A&M, awfully impressive, and a couple of 1-run losses on the road at Arkansas. So Kevin O'Sullivan said our biggest goal was simply to get above 500. They are 2 games over 500 coming into Hoover, and that has them in pretty good shape. Curlin sitting on 13 home runs, and he skies this one foul right behind the plate. The power for Florida isn't limited to just Jack Caglione, who's hit 29 of them, but there's a lot of guys on this team that can run into them. For the first time since '98, Florida's got 7 hitters with double-digit home runs. Those 7 have accounted for 97% of Florida's long balls. Here's the 1-2. Did he go? Did not, according to Brian DeBrouwer. And they count 2-2.
And this kid's one of them, Cade Curlin. He can really swing the bat. Remember the big series he had last year in the 3-game set against LSU. He had 5 hits, scored 7 runs.
2-2 to Curlin with Heyman aboard. Tip foul. By the way, the comp to that 98 Florida team includes SEC Player of the Year Brad Wilkerson, who had 23. David Ross had 19. Mark Ellis played in the big leagues for a long time. He was a 14 home run guy. That's impressive company right there.
Played with Mark Ellis in Oakland. Brad Wilkerson. Wow, those names are bringing me back. Played against him in Montreal. If anybody remembers, they had a big league team.
Yuppie dumped into left field off the bat of Cade Curlin, and 2 aboard here in the second inning. They won a ground ball Mark Ellis couldn't get to, was there?
He was pretty strong, yeah. Bobby Crosby was our shortstop. That's why I sat in the bench and every inning walked up those steps, went into the dugout, or the locker room was like a Circle K back then. You just grab Snickers or whatever. I gained about 20 pounds that 2 months I was with Oakland.
Good thing they weren't in Vegas.
Yeah.
So here's Tyler Shelnut. He's playing a little bit of left, a little bit of third. But with some of the injuries, they've had to shuffle guys around. Dale Thomas back in the mix at third base, and Shelnut back out to left field. He's hit 13 home runs. Squares the bunt, places it down the line. It kicks off the lip and will be picked up in foul territory by Diaz.
Yeah, great job by Diaz. A lot of times that's hard to read, and you want to make the play, so it makes you a little anxious. But clearly that ball was going to hit the lip and go foul. Nice job just tracking it. The play is at third. If you think you can get him, go ahead and pick it up. But if you can't, go ahead and let it roll.
Shelnut has hit safely in 6 of his last 7, including a 3-hit game in the regular season finale in Athens. That was his first 3-hit game since February. Swing and a miss, 0-2. Cunningham having to go from the stretch after the Heyman single and then the Cade Curlin single. Fastball misses away with 95, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And you know, with Vanderbilt putting Bryce Cunningham on the mound, it shows you where they're at, right? I mean, this is a must-win for Vanderbilt. I think, you know, for Bryce Cunningham, I mean, he's made 24 starts at Vanderbilt, has the 10 wins, so he's their most reliable, has the most starts, and they're going after this game today.
Swing and a miss on the slider. First strikeout for Cunningham.
And for Bryce Cunningham, he's got to get to that off speed. That's where he becomes elite. 40% usage on the 2 off speeds once he gets ahead. 52% whiff rate on the slider and the changeup. So when he can get ahead and get into that position where he can use those pitches, they're plus.
That whiff rate sounds better than average, huh?
52%, yeah. I think I did that against Randy Johnson.
Here's Brody Donay, and he chops a foul off of his foot.
That number had to be more like 80%.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Sophomore from Lakeland, Florida. Florida had a great finish to the season. They were down 3-0 in the finale at number 9 Georgia after 3 innings and had a 12-run 4th inning. It's most runs in a single inning in the Kevin O'Sullivan era, and the most since 2002 in a 31-3 win against Siena. Siena was wondering where the run rule. What's the number? 29? Like, how are we still playing in this game? 31-3.
And that's why you don't panic over offensive stats. I mean, Florida's, you know, in the bottom in the SEC within those 30 games, but it comes and goes. When they won the national championship in 2017, Florida as a team hit 259, but it's when you get the hits, but you got to be able to pitch it.
Well, you better have a couple of aces as they did when they won the national title, because this ERA for Florida is the highest it's been under Kevin O'Sullivan and the highest in school history. 6.28 is the Florida ERA. That is last in the SEC. 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Back-to-back Ks for Cunningham when he needed them. Florida in danger of wasting an opportunity.
Well, and again, for Bryce Cunningham, the fastball's good. He throws it 70% of the time for strikes, but the slider and the changeup are elite. And for him, it's just getting the ability to throw those pitches. Getting in counts where he can throw that slider and get a swing and miss.
Here's the 8-hole hitter, Dale Thomas. By the way, Cunningham needed just 8 pitches in the first inning. Different scenario here in the second. And Thomas bails him out with a ground ball to third, and that'll make eventually quick work after back-to-back singles. KK ground out. No score in the second. Standpoint, the league's better than those other bubble teams outside of this conference.
Well, I think the SEC's proved that over the last 6 years. We've had 5 national champions and by 5 different schools. And so clearly it matters what you do within this conference. And that's why I said with Vanderbilt, who's already beaten Florida 2 out of 3 during the regular season, if they win today, that'd give them 3 wins over Florida.
Yeah, but you're comparing Vanderbilt to Florida and not Vanderbilt to other bubble teams outside of this league. Why should you eliminate Florida without them going outside of this league?
Well,
same with Florida versus, I don't know, Coastal Carolina, wherever you want to go.
Well, obviously that's difficult when they hadn't played each other. But for Florida, I mean, they've got a big argument, right? They got 4 big series wins, where I talked about that with Georgia, LSU, Mississippi State, and the wins that they have, and the strength of schedule, like you mentioned, the #1. And for Vanderbilt, it's, remember, there's going to be a bunch of guys sitting around a table that are going to decide whether or not Vanderbilt gets in or not, especially if they lose this game. And it's hard to leave Vanderbilt out when you start talking about Vanderbilt.
Just a 185 average as he makes his 15th start of the season. And we do have numbers that help us try to compare those apples to oranges or sometimes peaches. It's not easy, whether it's RPI or KPI. But that's why the committee leans on those metrics and then hopefully dives into the minutia of Team A versus Team B.
Yeah, and so that becomes the argument if in fact Vanderbilt were to lose this game and they go home with 13 wins, and then you're looking at a mid-major with something similar. Do you let Vanderbilt in because of their name, or do you let a mid-major in because they may be comparative to Vanderbilt and that conference doesn't have as many teams in, or whatever case they may make?
Well,
and it's a tough one. It's a tough decision.
I think once you start looking at the numbers, it becomes pretty easy. Here's the 1-0, and this one's shot into right center field. Alan Espelon on his way to third. Barzy coming up with a big hit, trying to stretch it into a double, and he goes in feet first. Vandy's got something cooking here in the second with 2 in scoring position.
Love watching hitters go the other way. That means he's sitting on that off speed, but has the ability to have a quick bat and get on that fastball from Coppola, who's mid-90s. And Barzy just rips it into right field. Vanderbilt has something cooking.
It's the second double of the season for Colin Barzy in his 15th start. Matthew Polk try his luck against Pierce Coppola, who worked through the side in order in the first, and they will reset the pitch clock because Florida is scrambling some guys out to the bullpen. Polk, a junior from Long Beach, California.
And Tom, this makes it difficult too with the shadows coming out over home plate. I mean, I always thought the ball changing colors coming in, especially from a 6'8" guy like Coppola, it just makes it more difficult as a hitter to be able to see the ball.
Here's Coppola's first pitch, swung on and missed, tied him up with a fastball. Can't be any easier when he throws it at your thumb. So how do you, as a hitter, how do you cheat, if you will, or how do you find a way to make up for it?
You just hope you're getting a fastball count for Coppola. For me, I mean, I'd throw more fastballs in this situation because, again, it's tough as a hitter to see the ball. And if you're dancing around the zone and a hitter gets in a 3-1, 3-2 count, what it basically did for me is make me be a little more patient and wait and hopefully get in a hitter's count. But if not, you just fight.
5 home runs on the season for Polk, who played his high school ball at Orange Lutheran. And he shoots it the other way. Hot shot handled by Curlin. It's a productive out as it gets Espinal home. But Cade Curlin takes it off the dirt for the RBI ground out from Polk, and Vandy strikes first.
Other than a base hit, that's what you want out of Matthew Polk. Hit it to the right side, move the runner over to third with less than 2 outs, and score the first run for Vanderbilt. That's a nice job of hitting from Matthew Polk.
And so that brings Braden Holcomb to the plate. Infield in for Florida. Off speed, misses away. Holcomb, a freshman from Ocoee, Florida, at a Foundation Academy. Started all 3 games in that series last month against Florida, but went just 1 for 10. It's his home state school, 1-1. What do you think about bringing the infield in the second inning?
Yeah, it's going to be. It feels like a higher than a 1-0 score, and if that's the case, you know, I would play back early. But clearly, the runs at a premium if you're Florida, and they bring the infield in. Deep
to right, certainly deep enough to get a run home, and Wilson came all the way around it, and a sac fly for Holcomb brings home Barzy. 2-0 Vanderbilt.
A bit of situational hitting for Vanderbilt. Hit the ball the right side, move runners over, and then Holcomb.
Giving him his 6th of the year. Tip caught just a piece of it. Action in the Florida bullpen. Jake Clemente just starting to get loose. Talking with Tim Corbin earlier this season about Leneve going into his final year, he said, you know, there are plenty of examples in the SEC of guys who have finished strong. That one just foul. And he referenced Chad Spanberger a couple of years ago. It's 2017, hit 20 home runs for Arkansas and had a monster SEC tournament. Corb's no longer coaching third. He gave Mike Baxter that opportunity this season.
Well, what you notice with Vanderbilt, too, they don't have a lot of transfers in there. They like to grow their kids from the beginning. So Leneve has been around. Not a ton of at-bats over his 5-year career, 250 plate appearances, I believe, but definitely a kid that Corbs loves.
He had 5 hits in the Florida series. 4 of those were doubles, and 1 was a home run. Strike 3 and 94 on the black. But regular season, but you went by Buc-ee's.
Yeah, that place is amazing. I had no idea this place even existed.
Did it feel kind of like, I don't know, Disneyland to you?
I think that's an understatement. I mean, I was taking videos. It was unbelievable.
All right, now that we've got your focus on something more positive, how have you dealt with the injuries that you guys have had to deal with over the last couple of weeks of the season? And did you speak to your guys about the opportunity that presents to guys who haven't been in the lineup every day?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is you can look at one of 2 ways. You can complain about it, or, you know, it's obviously the next man up, and it gives somebody else an opportunity. Using Ashton Wilson as an example, we put him in the leadoff spot and had a great weekend against Georgia, and he's done a really good job for us. So he's now getting an opportunity, and some other guys will get some opportunities. So, you know, everybody goes through it, but it's just really the next man up.
Yeah, Sully, and in that Georgia series, your offense scored 30 runs. I mean, you talk about what was said. I mean, was there anything done or said differently to that offense?
No, I wish I would have said something. Maybe we would have played a little bit more consistently throughout the year. But, no, we just had a good weekend, bottom line.
Sully, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Michael Robertson pops it up to left. Troy Leneve puts it away. I just can't, for the life of me, sometimes coaches surprise me that they live in this little bubble that he had never before set foot inside a Buc-ee's before the drive to Hoover.
Shreveport to Dallas, we've passed the Buc-ee's outside of Dallas every time I go, and you have to stop, right? The fudge, yeah. The ices. I mean, the kids love the ices.
Jerky, where do you stand on the jerky?
The jerky's outstanding. The barbecue sandwiches off the charts.
Well, here's Ashton Wilson. He talked about the job that Wilson did in the leadoff spot and the opportunities that guys are presented in this tournament. First pitch strike, 0-1 to Wilson, who flew out to right field his first time up. In fact, Tim Corbin was talking on the studio set about the opportunity that guys get in this postseason and what that can mean to them. In fact, he pointed out that they had a pitcher that was a student manager in 2007 who they used in this SEC tournament against Ole Miss, and Jason Cunningham threw 4 shutout innings. He hadn't thrown all year.
We saw Texas A&M pull that last year. I mean, Troy Wansing in the opener threw the 1-hitter through 8. Justin Lampkin came behind him, 1-hitter. So clearly, in order to win championships, you got to have the talent, you got to stay healthy. But the other thing is you have guys do what you don't expect them to do, and there's plenty of examples of that. Although as soon as last year, you know, with Nate Ackenhausen, hadn't made a start all year, gets in the College World Series, goes 6, doesn't walk anybody, beats Tennessee.
So that's good.
Usually, if you get on the mound in Omaha and you get a win, it's good.
That's really good.
Yes, sir.
4th start of the season for Wilson. Sophomore transferred in from Charleston Southern. 36 starts with Charleston Southern as a freshman last year and hit .252. Breaking ball missed outside and a bit low. And the count full to Wilson. Caglione on deck. First 3-ball count from Cunningham. And he gets a foul tip in 96 for his 3rd strikeout of the game.
And that's what allows you to keep your eyes still and have a little more of an easy movement to the baseball.
29 home runs for Caglione. And he rips one to first under the glove of Braden Holcomb. That was about, I don't know, 105 off the bat. What do you got?
You know, part of that play, too, is you're expecting Caggies to really crush it. Like, you know, and you're on the corners. I was at third base when Jose Canseco would come to the plate. So I know that when you're on that position, all of a sudden you're automatically kind of on your skates. And right there, clearly that's a ball that Holcomb can just block and make the play. Gets back and lets the ball eat him.
And that'll bring Colby Shelton to the plate as the inning is extended. That is ruled a base hit for Caglione. Davis Diaz even with the bag over at third with Shelton at the plate. And missed by much, 1-0. For Caglione, that is a 41 game on base streak. That is amazing. Faked running, ball blocked by Espinal, and it hit him. So a hit batter once again keeps this Florida lineup moving with 2 down.
Yeah, just an off speed that comes too far in, hits him on the back left foot. 2 outs. Florida's got a little action. Bryce Cunningham has been good at times this year. And through the complete game against Mississippi State earlier in the year with the 2 hits. He's got the ability to dominate, and Vanderbilt's going to need him to go deep into this game to save the arms.
Luke Heyman singled the opposite way his last time up. Then he pokes that one deep and onto the berm. Nice play. It's a really big hat. Like, dude, I don't care how big your hat is. This is my baseball.
Yeah, can we get some of those?
You're in the right place. Climb the ladder with 96, nothing in 2. Cunningham allowed 7 runs, 3 of them earned in his start last weekend at Kentucky. He lasted just 2 2/3, and he threw 75 pitches. 0-2 to Heyman, and that will close the inning.
LSU probably got him into the field of 64 with that win, but yeah, the Skip Bertman years in the Pulmonary, you know, they've just consistently brought it here at the SEC tournament.
Are you more, speaking of charts, a pie guy, a bar guy, or a scatter guy? Calvin Hewitt at the plate.
I kind of like that pie chart.
You like the pie chart?
Yeah, the top right, you know, purple and gold, yeah.
What's your favorite pie?
I'm going to say apple pie. Hot. You?
A la mode?
Absolutely. You?
I'm not afraid to mix in some rhubarb, but yeah,
Rhubarb.
choice 1A would be apple.
There you go.
1 home run and 19 driven in for Hewitt. He's hitting in the 9 hole. You saw the history there with Vanderbilt and Tim Corbin with Alyssa Lang, and Jared Mitchell talked about the history of this tournament and what it means. Backhanded by Curlin, and Hewitt retired on a ground out. And Corb's pointed back to 2003, just making it to Hoover to begin with. And he said that really became the tipping point. We got a taste of it. Made it to the championship game that very next season. And their most recent SEC title last year. Here's Vastine. Swing and a miss, 0-1.
Well, clearly the most important thing is depth with the arms and the pitching staff, and then what we talked about earlier, having guys do what you don't expect them to do.
Off the tape, 0-2 to Vastine, who is 4th in the league in doubles with 18. Had a 6-hit weekend in Lexington against the Cats. Now back again, 0-2 still.
Pierce Cupola has been really good. He's only given up the 2 runs, but only the 1 hit. Been effective with his fastball.
6th start of this season for Cupola. And the 0-2 breaking ball is pulled back to the screen. He got Vastine to ground out to short in the first. Oh, 0-2 pitch. Went fishing for that one. It is strikeout number 3 for Pierce Cupola. 2 down here in the 3rd.
That's nasty. Lefty on lefty matchup again. You really just got to be looking out at 3rd and go the other way. Otherwise, you got no chance. And right there, clearly Vastine looking up the middle and maybe to pull. And when you get that off speed thrown on you, you're going to get a swing and miss every time.
So here's Davis Diaz, steps into this one and pops it up a mile high to the right side. Heyman is there with Caglione, and Caglione makes everything look easy. But to try to win the whole thing since you're here, how is that discussed between the end of the season and coming down to Hoover?
Oh, yeah. We just talked about it not too long ago. He was saying the best way to win tournaments is to, play in tournaments. So I'm not taking this through the motions, but kind of going after it and treating it like it's, it could be the last game of our season.
Devin, you have the 9 starts on the year. Clearly, you pitched out of the bullpen Saturday, 2 2/3 against Kentucky. Do you have a preference?
As long as I'm on the mound, I'm helping the team win. I really don't care. So, kind of discussed that with Brownie. We went from the starting role, and then, tragedy in my family happened, so I kind of took some time away from baseball. Had to go.
And then you end up with cups on your head.
Yeah, and then here I am now. So.
We're having a serious conversation. We're putting cups on your head. Junior from Pembroke Pines. What have you learned about yourself dealing with the ups and downs and finding a way to focus on the game and the studies and everything else?
I just got to stay standard, stay in my routine. Don't, I got to treat every day like it could be my last. So. Good pitch. Just kind of staying through my routine, kind of just help me getting through each day.
Now let's dial in on the baseball side of it. From starting to relieving, if you had to, advise somebody else, what have you learned through that process you think would be helpful to somebody who hasn't bounced back and forth?
To be honest, I'm kind of new to it, so I don't know much about it.
But you're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. I talked to some of the guys who are relievers, so just kind of getting through your routine quicker, kind of, just getting the blood going, and then from there, just going out and competing.
Devin, obviously a baseball season is a long year. What do you like about this group?
We're having a lot of fun. You hear all the chirps we got going on. We got the claps. So we're here. We're making jokes. We're having fun, and that's what it's all about.
What do you see when you watch Bryce Cunningham pitch?
He's a dog. I think he's got some of the most pitches on our team. He's gone plenty of starts really deep in the game. And he's just an overall dog. He threw, I think, there you go, threw 3 days or 4 days ago, and he's back out here. He wants the ball, so he's ready to go.
He's got 5 strikeouts in this one. He had a good start against Florida earlier this season. Here's a look at that breaking ball. What do you think is his nastiest pitch? You see him throw a lot.
I think his slider or his changeup is actually his best pitch. So he's able to locate that lefty and righty. So that's probably what's going to get him longest in this game. But as of right now, his slider is doing really well.
50 pitches in here in the 4th. Here's Brody Donay, and the pitch misses low and in. I referenced this a minute ago, and I wonder if you can shed any light on Tim Corbin's competitive fire. Like, what have you seen since you've been on campus that maybe folks outside the program haven't been privy to in terms of how competitive that guy is?
Yeah, everything we do, whether it be just a training day or just a daily practice, we kind of go. We treat it like it's a true game environment. So going off that,
tomorrow they get LSU, followed by Arkansas and South Carolina. R.J. Austin at the plate, 3-hole hitter popped up the first base in it. Fantastic play by Caglione. Two and 0. What do you think of Pierce Capolla's outing so far today?
Capolla's been good. I mean, again, he's been on a short leash most of his starts. He only has the 10 innings, but again, you want to get this guy going. I mean, you can't teach height. That 10-inch mound with that 6'8" frame. The ball's coming in at an angle on the fastball, and he's got that off speed to go with it. And I was a left-handed hitter, so to face a guy like that was a tough day. And you mentioned Randy Johnson. That's similar to what you're looking at right here. Ball gets on you really quick.
Austin's got reverse splits. He actually hits right-handers better than lefties. 2-2 pitch from Capolla. Pops it foul. When Capolla, like many pitchers, gets an advantage, man, he's able to slam the door. He's gotten to 7 2-strike counts, and Vandy is 0 for 6 so far. Two on the way to R.J. Austin. Missed with 95, full count. Here's the payoff. And we'll find the seats.
What you love about Capolla, too, is he hadn't walked anybody. I mean, on those 3-2 counts, he's throwing it in there, challenging kids. And when we've got a semi-walk problem in college baseball, this has been a good day, especially for Capolla.
On the 8th pitch of the at-bat, Austin swings through the fastball. Strikeout number 4 for Capolla, and Alan Espinal coming up.
And when you know a fastball is coming, especially like a guy like R.J. Austin, who we know can hit, and you can blow it by him, that's a good sign.
Yeah. Well, it's why Capolla has shown so much promise, and like Kevin O'Sullivan and this staff was so excited to get him back and healthy, and he started working that direction a few weeks ago. Slider swung on a miss by Alan Espinal, drew a walk and scored his first time up to start the 2nd. Capolla came out of high school with a ton of accolades, and he was in the opening weekend rotation as a freshman before injuries derailed him. $783 days between appearances. 1 and 2. Did you ever have a long layoff due to injury?
No, I got lucky. I got rolled by Carlos Lee at second base, tore my MCL, and I was out for 6 weeks. I guess that's long, but it was in the beginning of the season, so I still had a lot to go that year.
How much heavier was Carlos Lee than you were?
That was a big barrel coming in at second base for sure. So much so I couldn't get out of the way.
Yeah, that's right. To run around him. Double-digit home runs for Espinal, and he tattoos the line drive to left. It's a 1-out single. And that'll bring Colin Barzy to the plate with a runner on.
Nice little rip from Espinal out of the 4 spot. Turns that fastball around. And again, what you love about Capolla is he's challenging guys. And this big ballpark, and with the sun, of course, the shadow's gone now. But with those two elements, that's what you need to do as a pitcher.
It is 405 to straightaway center and 335 down the lines. The biggest part of the ballpark seemed to be the gaps. Swing and a miss to Barzy. It's not as big as it used to be. They moved the fences in a few years ago.
Yeah, big gaps and dead air. I mean, you just don't have a lot blowing out right now.
Barzy, a freshman from Naperville, Illinois, out of Naperville Central. Fastball in on the belt buckle. He was in the lineup against Florida. Had a couple of starts a month ago. Had 2 hits and was hit by a pitch twice. They rolled through a couple of different second basemen this season. Up until the Tennessee series, they had Kozel starting at second and R.J. Austin over at first, but essentially made the move to give Holcomb an opportunity to show what he could do. 2 balls and 2 strikes. RJ, MVP of this tournament last year.
And what's been good for Bryce Cunningham for Vanderbilt, and of course Coppola to this point, is they're eating up innings, and that's what you need, especially in the first, second game of this tournament, because it's a long week. Need to save as many arms as you can.
Archie doubled his last time up, and he goes down swinging at that one. 5th strikeout for Coppola. This is a Vanderbilt team that is a much different offensive team at home versus on the road. And they're trying to replicate those home numbers now in a neutral site. 4-0 in neutral site games. Matthew Polk on his way to the plate.
Now they hit 270 in the league for the 30 games within the league, which is middle of the road.
Polk swung at the first last time up and does the same here, 0-1. In the dirt, blocked by Heyman. Runner goes to second and gets there ahead of the throw. Great hustle by Alan Espinal on the wild pitch.
Yeah, especially with 2 outs. Nice heads-up play. As a runner, you're always looking for that ball in the dirt. And whether Buddy Bell, when I was in Colorado, always used to tell us, even at that level, if the ball hits the dirt, take off. Make that catcher find the ball and an accurate throw to second, which is rare. And nice job by Espinal taking advantage of that.
And here's a visit from Kevin O'Sullivan. His season high in pitches is 64. That came against Kentucky 11 days ago. He threw 48 in 2/3 of an inning, in 2 innings pitched against Georgia last weekend. He goes right back to the fastball, 1-2 to Matthew Polk. Espinal, the runner at second. And on the elbow.
And what you also love about Coppola is he's not afraid to throw inside. First base is open, so if he hit him, it's not the end of the wheel, but it opens up a lot of opportunities for him to throw fastballs away and the off speed.
Heyman couldn't squeeze it. 2-2. So a season high in pitches for Pierce Coppola. And they're a strike away from getting 4 innings of work out of him. And it's Polk the opposite way. Espinal around third. Here's the throw from Wilson. It is not in time. RBI single from Matthew Polk. And Vandy's got a 3-0 lead.
Wilson did all he could do from right field. He had a good jump toward the baseball, caught it on the run, and threw a perfect strike into home plate. It hit the grass, which held the baseball up just enough for Espinal to get in for the third run for Vanderbilt.
They're going to stick with Coppola with Holcomb in. Holcomb delivered a sac fly his last time up. Want to know to the Florida freshman from Ocoee, Florida, out of Foundation Academy. Just off the plate, 2-0.
He has the 3 home runs and 56 at bats, but I saw one he hit week 4 against LSU. I mean, that 470 feet.
6'4", 257.
Big kid, strong.
He's built like a Giambi, to use your generation.
Which one?
Take a pick. 2-1.
They were both strong. Jason was a little taller. Played with Jeremy in Oakland when Mark Ellis, that group.
Runner on the move, pitches low, the throw, double clutch and sailed into center field. But Polk was unable to get an extra 90 on it. His 8th stolen base of the season, and that one just slipped out of the hand of Luke Heyman.
Yeah, unless you're going to walk into third with 2 outs, there's no real advantage. Polk clearly didn't see it quick enough to be able to make that move. But again, getting over to third, you better be standing up, or else it's good just to stay at second with 2 outs.
(3-1). In for a strike, full count to Braden Holcomb. And a line drive to center field. This will get Polk home. Back-to-back 2-out hits for Vandy. And they're putting good swings on the Coppola pitches now.
Well, that was even better because he got the 3-1 slider. And so as a hitter, even at 3-2 with first base open, you don't know what you're going to get. He gets the fastball, able to react, and rips it back up the middle. That might be it for Coppola. But that was a nice at-bat by Braden Holcomb, who hadn't had a lot this year.
And so Kevin O'Sullivan makes the trip out of the Florida dugout. And with the 8-hole hit last year with an injury, 6'3", 220 is 2-0 with a 4.67 ERA. 25 strikeouts against 10 walks.
Yeah, the fastball slider change from Jake. Change up is plus. 67% whiff rate on that thing. He uses 10% of the time, but fastball heavy at 70%, but he gets ahead with that fastball, especially against the left-hander. He's going to drop that change on him.
What he does with Leneve here, right on left. Starts him off with 92, 0-1. Leneve struck out looking his first time up, and he looks at 92 right down the street, 0-2. You mind buying me a $90 quarter zip? I want the Peter Millar, please.
How about the LSU t-shirt? You wear that?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. 0-2 pitch. I get a lot of funny looks around town because I've got so much gear from so many different SEC schools. The people must be very confused when they see me.
And you don't mind wearing them either.
No,
yeah, you're not spending money on your own stuff.
It's free. No. It's for me. Runner goes.
Absolutely.
Popped up. Shallow center field. Robertson crashes in and cashes in, and that'll close the couple of weeks of the season. Was could they stay above 500? You must be above 500 to qualify for the NCAA tournament, just to start. And they took care of business late in the year. Breaking ball from Cunningham low and away. And now they're in prime position to get in. And the question then is, do you want to see Florida in your bracket as a 3 seed? 1-1.
Not with the way Coppola pitched today. And they've got some arms that can hurt you.
And they have arguably the most exciting player in college baseball, and Jack Caglione.
I mean, Cade Fisher and Brandon Neely have another level. And the beautiful thing about this time of year is it doesn't matter what happened in the past. And if you are going to make a run, then you're going to have guys show up and do things that, again, they haven't done during the course of the year.
Jammed him, and a little flare is nearly caught by Austin. But Dale Thomas threads the needle, and he reaches with a leadoff single here in the 5th. 5th base run of the game for Florida.
That could not have been placed in a better spot for Dale Thomas, and that's why they say let the ball travel. If you get jammed, there's a lot more hits than if you run out of bat and get out in front. Dale Thomas lets that ball travel, hits it in a perfect spot between Bastine and Austin, and need a little bit of luck as a hitter.
Sure. Here's the 9-hole hitter, Michael Robertson. Bryce Cunningham has been a different pitcher in the friendly confines of Hawkins Field than when he travels. But the home whites must be working well for him today. Off speed, swung on a miss. Aria Gerson points out that at home, Cunningham has a 2.22 ERA, a strikeout rate of 31%, a 9% walk rate. On the road, everything explodes. His ERA is 11.37. His strikeout rate drops to 19%. And his walk rate balloons from 9% to 12%. And the home runs go through the roof as well. Now, it is a small sample size in college baseball, especially when you start working in the splits, for home road appearances. But Vanderbilt as a team, 27-8 at home, 4-12 on the road. Perform much differently in Nashville. Fly ball to left, Laney drifts. One down.
And there were times, and not all the time, but there were times when I felt better on the road than I did at home, just because at home you felt a little more pressure, you know, especially if you were struggling. And I kind of like going on the road, and even if you got yelled at or people were against you, it kind of fed the fuel, the energy for me. But clearly most people feel better at home, and as a team, it's played out that way throughout the SEC. Teams play better at home, and that's why it's important to host in the postseason.
Here's Ashton Wilson. Why would anybody ever yell at Todd Walker? What did they yell at you?
I don't know. Ask that guy from the Rays back in the day. Sat right behind home plate, and every single time I came to the plate, he was crushing me, to the point where I didn't think about even what I was doing at that point. All I wanted to do was show him up. And I think I got an infield home run in that series where the center fielder got his foot stuck in the fence.
An inside the park home run?
Inside the park home run. He went back, got his foot stuck in the fence, and I was able to score.
Glad you didn't let that guy in your dome.
Oh, I did.
At least he didn't whistle.
That would have been tough for me to handle. That's right. Yeah, especially whistling a particular song, you know. But there are a lot of things you got to deal with, especially at that high level. And for me, you know, I always care what people think and thought. And so that's probably one of my disadvantages. But in that case, you got to get over it real quick.
Well, if you're curious, I think you're a wonderful human being.
That means a lot, Tom. I'll take that tonight to the motorhome park back there and sleep well.
Wilson 0 for 2 with a flyout and a strikeout. Popped him up, and Espinal watches this one go foul. The big hat didn't help the kid catch it.
Can't imagine, other than blocking the sun, it would be good for anything else except looking good.
It does look good.
Looks great.
5-game hit streak for Wilson. Appeared as a pinch hitter a couple of times against Kentucky and came up with knocks in each circumstance, and then started all 3 in the outfield against Georgia. He goes down swinging here. That is strikeout number 6 for Bryce Cunningham.
Only his 4th start for Ashton Wilson, 2 strikeouts and a fly ball to right. Bryce Cunningham's looked good. And again, eating up innings is what Vanderbilt needs the most in this tournament. And to your point, pitching on the road or at least in a neutral site for Bryce Cunningham and doing well is going to go a long way for his confidence.
Here's Jack Caglione. 1 for 2 today, and he pops up the first to shallow left. Leneve in the sunlight, casting a long shadow, retires.
On the hit and run.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, again, just to have the risk factor into trying to make that play from first all the way to home was pretty incredible at that level and that early.
Here's the center fielder Calvin Hewitt, 0 for 1 with the ground out to second. You and I haven't discussed Paul Skeens.
We discussed a lot last year, saying he's ready for the big leagues right now, and we were right. I mean, they put him in AAA just to save that year of eligibility for him or what they have to pay him. But man, he is impressive, and we knew that.
One of my favorite parts about this job is seeing a guy like Paul Skeens, knowing what his ability is and potential, and then kind of waiting for that wave to reach mass media and the other fans, like big league fans, and they go, whoa, where does this guy been? That ball is yanked foul. When the diehards knew, the diehard professional fans knew who Paul Skeens was, but the casual fans had their eyes open in a big way.
Well, he's a big guy. And I think about Paul Skeens a lot too, because think of the life-changing deal it was from him to go from Air Force for 2 years to get into the spotlight of the SEC and then pitch for LSU, win a national championship, first pick overall. He's got to, you know, I mean, it's just incredible the decision he made at that point and how it basically changed his life.
And in the process, breaking Ben McDonald's strikeout record, 2-2 to Calvin Hewitt.
Yeah, 100-mile-an-hour fastball play, no matter who you got. And then he's got the off speed to go with it. And he's built to last, too.
Well hit, deep left field. Shelnut all the way to the wall, and it's gone. Leadoff home run for Calvin Hewitt, just his 2nd of the season. And Vandy tallies another. 5-0 Doors.
How about Calvin Hewitt? Only his 18th start of the year out of the 9 spot. Turns that pitch around, adds to the lead for Vanderbilt. After the way the season ended for Vanderbilt, it's a good game for them to bounce back and regroup.
So here's Jonathan Vashstein, top of the order. Ground out and a strikeout for Vashstein. Well, Tim Corman said it. It's an opportunity for guys to come through as stars in this postseason and in this tournament. Missed on 92, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Clemente notches his first strikeout.
Yeah, and on a 1-2 count, if you're Vashstein, you're obviously looking for that changeup, which is so good from Clemente. And when you're sitting changeup and then you get that blown in there, it's going to freeze you up every time.
Davis Diaz is 0 for 2. One down in the 5th after the Calvin Hewitt home run. Our 3rd game of this single elimination Tuesday. Hook in for a strike, 1-1. Of interest to bubble teams in the ACC tournament in Charlotte. They've got pool play going on, and Florida State is beating Georgia Tech 12-9. That would have been a good feather in Danny Hall's cap. Had Georgia Tech upset Florida State. That game is in the top of the 9th. Also of note, there are bid stealers lurking in the American, but ECU won its first game in Clearwater against Rice, so they'll have to wait another day. 3-1.
It's amazing how many times East Carolina pops up in that top 10, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yet they've never been to Omaha.
They got 40 wins already this year. 2-game lead in the AAC, and pretty impressive.
But the balls.
Yeah.
No pearls that day. Strike to RJ Austin. I mean, Doubleday had just invented the sport like 25 years before that.
So what are we thinking, like mush balls?
Definite mush balls.
Yeah. No helmets.
Probably no gloves. Definitely no catcher's gear.
Spikes that were probably 5 feet long.
Lob over to first.
And 0 rules. Like you come in straight up, cleats up in the air, going at people's face, right?
You like that.
Probably
you just got really excited about
the
that.
brutal part of the game, yeah.
Two balls and a strike. Breaking ball in for a strike. 2-2. The Big 12 has been a battle this year. Kansas beat K-State. TCU knocked off West Virginia. Cincinnati sitting on the wrong side of the bubble right now, trailing UCF in the 3rd inning in Arlington. 3-0 Knights. Diaz broke and returned, and the count full to RJ Austin.
And now he'll take off. With 1 out, stay out of the double play. You know RJ Austin's going to put it in play. Only decision is to whether or not that hitter will swing and miss. And you know RJ Austin is a contact guy.
Calvin Hewitt's home run extended Vandy's lead 5-0. Runner goes, ground ball off the side of the mound, and no play at second, so a lob to first to finish off the Vandy, or pardon me, for out number 2. I was getting ready to turn the page, literally. And that'll bring Espinal up. He's scored twice.
Well, it'll work perfect if the shortstop was covering the bag, but instead Shelton stays put. Ball hit right at him. Still almost had a chance at second, but runner in motion took that away. Still gets the second out.
First pitch to Espinal. So think about the team photo back in the day. Probably it wouldn't be wise to smile because there are probably a lot of picket fences back in the 1890s.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Is that why everybody looked so grim in the old-timey photos?
Yeah, there was no smiles, was there?
No.
Everybody was just mad at the world. That's how baseball used to be. Even 30 years ago when I played, the old school way of it was you don't smile, you don't celebrate, you don't talk to the other team.
Oh, to Espinal is a breaking ball in the dirt. Would you have preferred to play in this era where everybody's best friends and a lot of chatter?
I like for it to be a little less, crazy. We were lined up against Cleveland, and Albert Bell's from Shreveport. His dad was my high school coach. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to go say hi to him. Because we were throwing, I was out in left center, he was in right center, and you would have thought that I punched him right in the face. He looked at me like I was nuts.
No, I would never think that you would punch
the people. Yeah, it was great.
And humble.
Hey, look. Very, very, very nice out there. A lot of food. A lot of LSU fans.
Colby Shelton watches the first pitch miss.
You came out there with one night.
I did.
Yeah.
We said during the broadcast that we were going to show up after the last game of the night, and we repeated it multiple times. Apparently you guys weren't watching because when we showed up you had already shut everything down, so nice enough to open it back up. Into right, that's Hewitt in center. And one down with Luke Heyman coming up.
Yeah, Miss Amber, who runs that whole show out there for the year, just does a fantastic job. Sweet lady, and you know, put me in a spot with a little grass area right there. So I got a little shade. It's kind of nice.
Wow. They play favorites around here, huh?
If we have a rain delay, and just roll it right out into the parking lot, come back, take a nap.
Here's Luke Heyman. What do you think? We saw the pie chart of tournament championships off speed with a wave from Heyman. What percentage of campers, either the truck itself or the people within them, belong to which fan base? So would you say LSU?
70% out there.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. I saw Alabama. I saw State. Guy next to me is from Arkansas. You know, they're all represented, and when you talk to them, the people love it. I mean, love the setup, the ability to stay here all week, watch different games, not only the team they're rooting for, as we see LSU fans here watching Vanderbilt in Florida. But it's just a fun environment, and you can sit pretty much where you want. There's 4 games today. You love baseball, you got it.
Now next year, obviously the league expands. Oklahoma and Texas coming in, and single elimination all the way through. Pop up to the right side. Holcomb gets it away. Let's show you how RV Todd travels, and he travels in style. Yeah, you got shade.
Yeah,
you
locked
get
in.
your work done.
Locked in. Yeah, I got the stat sheet in my hand. The old glove. Doing a little cribs right there. Yeah, that was the short version.
That is a short version. Brennan Sieber is getting loose for Vanderbilt with 2 outs in the 6th inning, and Cade Curlin up. Curlin is 1 for 2. What is one aspect of RV life that is not as glamorous as people might think? Because it seems very glamorous. I've seen Christmas Vacation.
And that's what I was going to say, dealing with what you saw in Christmas Vacation with Cousin Eddie in the driveway. That's probably the non-glamorous part by far.
No, you can't hire somebody to do that?
You could, I guess. I don't know how many people would want to do that part. Necessary evil.
That guy will do it. That hat was old even before he started coming to this tournament.
Signed by somebody, too. Todd Helton, Chris Burke, maybe. What we got?
Yeah, probably. Well hit into left field, into the corner. Extra bases on the way for Cade Curlin. And he motors into second with his second hit of this game. Cunningham had retired 9 of 10 to that point.
We talked about his home runs, double digits at 13. Cade Curlin with the big series last year in Omaha. Only hit 260 this year. Numbers aren't what you expect from Cade, but rips that ball into left field with a 2-out double for Florida.
Florida trying to get something going. A runner in scoring position for the 3rd time in this game. Gators are 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position.
Are deep in the game.
Shelnut watches 95 miss inside. For 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Tyler Shelnut got a 3-hit game in the finale at Georgia, and he rockets this one foul. Shelnut's from Lake City, Florida. Grew up a huge Gators fan. Lake City's only about 45 minutes away. Started his college career at Santa Fe Community College. He's a two-way player his first year. Tied the school record with 19 home runs in 22. Check swing. He went 1-2.
People talk a lot about the 2-out base hits with runners in scoring position, and there's a hard way to kind of define that and what you do well in those situations. But for me, it's getting deep in counts. And it's a 1-2 count here. Obviously, Shelnut has to battle, but the more you see pitches, the more it becomes a hitter's advantage. And a lot of times pitchers will start off with the off speed with the guy on second. And so a lot of times hitters get themselves out. But as you can build the at bat, like one more pitch, gets by one more pitch, it's 3-2. And you still don't really know because first base is open with 2 outs. But the deeper I felt like I got in counts with runners in scoring position, especially with 2 outs, the better chance I had.
So the 2-2 to Shelnut. Chops the fastball to short. Vastine charges, double pumps, and retires Shelnut. Gators still hitless with a runner. Pretty good indicator. His day is done. Colin Barzi has a double and a run scored to his name. The one breaking ball stays upstairs from Clemente. Second full inning of work coming for Jake Clemente, who got touched by a Calvin Hewitt home run to start the 5th. He finished off the 4th. And drops another hook in, this one for a strike, 1-2. Double barrel action. Cade Fisher is the lefty. Fisher Jamison is the right-hander. Got him with 93. Third strikeout for Clemente.
And it's just easy. It's easy from Clemente. Like all 3 motions, whether it's the slider, the changeup, or the fastball, are the exact same. And as a hitter, you're trying to pick up some tipping points from a pitcher, whether they grunt with their face on a fastball or whether they're more relaxed on off speed. And Clemente just delivers every pitch the exact same. It's hard to tell.
So here's Matthew Polk. He drove in a run with the ground out, squares the bunt, and takes it up. Polk's driven in a couple. 1-1. Clemente threw twice in the series at Georgia, game 1 and game 3. 19-11 in game 3. Showed the offensive firepower and the potential of this Florida team. But a bigger ballpark here, and the wind not helping the cause. How to play?
Well, it was a big series win for a team like Florida to beat Georgia. And again, like we mentioned, they beat Mississippi State, they beat LSU, beat Texas A&M in week 1 of the conference schedule. So Florida has a lot of arguments to get into the field this year.
Swinging a miss for Polk. Strikeout number 4, back-to-back Ks for the first time for Jake Clemente.
Well, when I talk about his motion as a hitter, then now you just got to guess. You got to guess along with him based on counts. And if he's back pitching, it's going to make it that much tougher. But clearly in offensive counts, you look for that fastball. And then when you're behind, you look for the off speed. And if he does anything different, it's just going to make it that much more difficult.
Explain what you mean to the viewers by back pitching.
Well, in other words, if it's a 3-1 count, well, I'd say a better example is a 1-0 count. I always thought that was an offensive count. And on a 1-0 count, I'm looking for a fastball, especially with guys on base. And when he throws an off speed, to me, that's a back pitch. I'm not looking for it, and it would fool me. I'd take it. Now if he throws it for a strike, he lands it, it's 1-1. And not basically going against the typical, 3-1, 3-2 fastball type of thing where he throws the off speed.
Got to the backstop on strike 3 and no play for Luke Heyman. Strikeout wild pitch on one that went right through Heyman's wickets.
Well, how about Holcomb using the green bag?
In play. And here's Troy Leneve, who is 0 for 2. Double first base utilized for this tournament. Experimental bases throughout the tournament. Well hit into center. And first pitch swinging on the knee line. Appearance of the season for Vanderbilt. 3-0 with a 4.25.
Yeah, another big kid. Cyber, the 6'5", 230 right-hander, is a California kid. Dominates right-handers, only 183. Our right-handers hitting against him. And again, he's got the plus change, 42% whiff rate, especially righty on righty.
And Cyber's first pitch. 92 for a strike to Brody Donay. Donay is 0 for 2. He showed KPI. That's a new metric for baseball. It was instituted years ago by former Michigan State manager for Tom Izzo, Kevin Pauga, who's on the basketball staff at Michigan State still. 1-2 now, and for the first time the committee has that at their disposal. So you keep in mind that the job that this baseball committee has to go through, essentially they have one metric that they use, and they got him in some hot water last year. Diaz at third. Relatively, the men's basketball selection committee has 5 different metrics that they use. So if you have an outlier among those 5, you can throw it in the wastebasket, right? You can say, hey, listen, they're in the 30s with all these and they're in the 50s with that one. Well, maybe these 4 are more in common than that 5th. And a breaking ball misses to Dale Thomas. So, in talking with Kevin O'Sullivan before the game, he said, I'm really calm and comfortable with where we are right now. He said, I don't view this as an elimination game of any sort between us and Vanderbilt. He said, I could throw out a bunch of different metrics and we could talk about the stats until we're blue in the face, but we played the #1 schedule in the country. And so what KPI helps illustrate is how people would do with another team's schedule. And so that's why Florida's KPI is sitting at 20 and some valuable wins over the course of this season. And few bad losses. To third, Diaz handles back-to-back as he retires Thomas.
Well, you certainly don't want them backing off of that schedule just because they play in the state of Florida and they've got a lot of different really good options. You know, you don't want them to stop playing Florida State or Miami just to make the win total look better.
Their best win by measurement of KPI was one of the home wins, a home win against Kentucky. And that pitch misses away to Michael Robertson. Off speed, in for a strike. The committee weighs heavily on this year on quad records, quad 1 especially, as opposed to your record against the top 25, and that's a big part of Florida's resume. 13-17 against quad 1 teams, and that includes 6 road wins against quad 1 teams. The wins 2 against A&M, wins against Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia. To short. And it's a 1-2-3 Rebels, and they get their rivals to close the night. First pitch swing, Calvin Hewitt. 0-1. One to Hewitt. Two balls and a strike. Hewitt with his second home run of this season to lead off the 5th. Gave Vandy even more breathing room. 2 in the 2nd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th. Breaking ball for a strike. Big Sankey explaining to Jim Schlossnagle just exactly what the refurbishments at Bluebell Park are going to look like when they're done. They're going to be nice. Line drive snared by Shelton. Climb the ladder, and there's one down here in the 7th.
They just don't even out. I mean, you hit the ball right on the screws, got nothing to show for it. Calvin Hewitt with the home run back in the 5th. Barrels another ball up here in the 7th to lead off and just rips it right at Shelton.
Nice snow cone.
Nice.
Jonathan Vastine is 0 for 3. To first, off of Caglione, and no recovery. Vastine reaches with one out here in the 7th.
Well, that's 3 barrels in a row dating back to the end of the last inning when Troy Leneve hit that bullet to center field. Line drive to short, and now Jonathan Vastine squares one up right at Kaggs, who tries to backhand it. And you'd like to see him get in front of it, block it if he has to, but taking a chance when your body's out of the way.
Todd, watch the hop at the end.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. Hits a seam on the hard dirt and jumps up on Kaggs.
Does the 4th error of the season charge of Jack Caglione?
They gave him an error.
Yeah. We didn't show the replay in time.
Man, you'd be standing out on that field and they would give an error or something like that, and I would look up here. I don't know where he's sitting. You know, the score guy. What in the world? You know, you'd be doing hand signals and everything else. How is that not a hit?
On 1 to Diaz. You can appeal scoring decisions in the big leagues.
If you were at home and the game was over, in Cincinnati, for example, I played for Bob Boone. If Bob wanted to, you could tell him, hey, didn't you think that was a hit? And he would send it to another guy who sent it to another guy to go up and say, hey, Bob said that was a hit. And yeah, sometimes it might get turned. Sometimes.
1 ball, 1 strike. It's calling a minor league game back in the days. And Wally Backman was the manager, and he didn't like the fact that a scoring decision went against his team. So he showed up immediately after the game in full uniform, tried to fight the official score. Stolen base for Jonathan Vastine. And I remember because he came in front of, it was one big press box. It wasn't a radio booth, and he came in front, just popped up in front of my window. And I was on the air, and he said, Tom. I threw it to break. I said, Wally, what's up? He goes, where's the official score? Who is he? And I knew that I may be putting this man in danger.
Throw him under the bus.
Here's the manager, and I got to get back on the bus and go back to the hotel. So I leaned forward and I said, he's the guy in the red shirt at the end. Wally looks down, looks back. His face was blood red, and he's irate. And he said, they're all wearing red shirts.
And you left it at that.
I left it at that. I said, sorry, Skip, I'm on the
himself.
air. And that official score needed a police escort to leave the ballpark that night. Ball, 2 strikes.
That's coming from a true former ball player. He gets that upset about a player's stat, not even his.
I took the liberty to edit that since we're a family show, some of the words that were used.
And I would do the same thing on the field, but I was at a distance, so nobody heard me, unless you read lips. But I remember hitting a line drive to Brian Giles in left. He lost it in the sun. He ducks. It goes over his head. I get an error as the hitter.
That's unbelievable. 2-2 pitch. Into center field. Michael Robertson is there. Tagging will be Vastine. He draws the throw and retreats. 2 down here in the 7th with R.J. Austin coming up. Well, you played a couple different positions in the big leagues, but how about the versatility for a guy like R.J. Austin? He's not just flipping back and forth middle infield. He's going first to second and a natural shortstop.
Well, all of, Vanderbilt's infielders were former shortstops in high school, and so, but I love the fact that they move around. I mean, that's one of the things with Charlie Condon. He's played 5 different positions for Georgia, and we know the offensive deal. They're wondering where they're going to put him defensively, and he's been good.
Austin, coming out of Pace Academy in Atlanta, was rated the #2 shortstop in the state of Georgia. Oh, by the way, like a lot of guys who played short in high school, he also pitched, and he threw 94 off the mound. Hammers the breaking ball through the left side. Vast timely waved home by Mike Baxter, and Vanderbilt has a 6-0 lead. Austin caught off the bag at first, and no throw back. Dallin Espinal. Didn't miss by much. Espinal drew a walk and scored in the second, his first plate appearance. Singled and scored in the fourth. One on one. Espinal now 6 for 14 against Florida this season.
R.J. Austin at first base leads the team with 11 bags out of 12. Only been caught once. 2 outs. Nice time to do it.
Balls and 2 strikes. Jamison last pitch in the series finale at Georgia worked 3 2/3. Two pitch, poked foul. In that appearance against Georgia, allowed 2 runs over 3 2/3. He also pitched in the first game of that series. It was a 9-4 Georgia win. Florida came back and took the final 2 against a Georgia team which will be hosting in the NCAA tournament. Jamison has a pair of appearances against Vandy this season. Didn't allow a run over 3 2/3 combined, with 7 strikeouts and no walks. Keeping a close eye on Austin.
And as a hitter, if they threw over that many times, number one, of course, they're wanting to keep him close. But number 2, it showed me as a hitter he's trying to get to his off speed.
Strike 3. That'll close the Vandy 7th, but not before the.
Last year was a 1.4, so it shows you where Kaggs is. Of course, Charlie Condon's is like north of 1.5, but I love Kaggs because he's a pitcher, so obviously he's got a great arm. You know, he can play a corner outfield, especially right field for you if he needs to at the big league level. But he can really swing the bat. Powerful, 6'5", 250.
He hit the longest home run ever measured by StatCast. Includes everybody in the professional ranks. In for a strike to Ashton Wilson. Who's
How far was that?
516 feet.
So Blake Burke hit one in the Super Regional last year that I saw live. Longest ball I've ever seen live, 480 feet, and I thought it was 500. So 516.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Dug out over at first base by Holcomb, and here's Caglione. It was a 516-foot home run that was 115 off the bat. Took off at a 26-degree angle. Joe Adele hit a 10-foot home run at AAA. But a lot of the professional home runs that have been over 500 feet coming at the AAA level have happened. That ball is smoked to second, knocked down by Austin, and he can't get there in time. I'd love You see the exit velocity on that one.
Yeah, ball was smoked. And that's the one thing as a second baseman I didn't love about playing the shift is you're dealing with that lip. And that ball's crushed. And whether or not it even hits the lip, it's in your eyesight. And for R.J. Austin, who kind of had to make a dig at it, doesn't glove it cleanly. And if he swung it a little harder, it would have gone all the way to first base just off the glove. But that's a tough play, especially playing in short right field for a second baseman.
So second hit of the game for Caglione. He's 2 for 4. Here's Colby Shelton. Closed the door on that home run that he hit in Gainesville. Off the glove of Espinal. Caglione ends up at second. I think Cruz at Cincinnati has a couple of 500-footers in the Statcast era, but the others happened in AAA and happened in elevation. Salt Lake, Albuquerque. There was a pass ball charge to Espinal to give Caglione an extra 9.
Well, the one I saw in Hattiesburg in sea level from Blake Burke went over the first fence. It went over the tailgaters, over the second fence, and hit the church in right field.
Praise the Lord. That ball is rocketed in the corner, but foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. So I'm guessing that church had never been hit before.
I don't think there's anybody that could even do it except for Blake Burke or maybe Jack Caglione.
Foul balls here are treated as if they're gold. Gators trying to get something going. They've managed 6 hits against Vandy, and now new pitchers getting loose for Vandy. Miller Green and Grayson Carter.
You know what's great about this is Skip Bertman always used to think that the first thing you needed to put in the ballpark is a diaper station.
Oh yeah, he told me that.
Yeah, and a playground.
He told me straight up, if mom can't come to the game with the kids, you can't sell enough tickets.
Now they come to the Hoover and they just kick them down the left field, right field line and go chase baseballs, and they love it.
Mom can keep a close watch on him.
She is. A couple parents out there, but
2-2 to Shelton. Oh, that one went off of the home plate umpire, carried all the way back to the screen. Caglione took a wide turn. Did that get gloved before it got Eddie Newsom, or did that hit him flush?
I didn't even see it.
Neither did Eddie Newsom.
I almost thought it got stuck in the mask because I didn't see it. Popped his mask, both masks off. Go straight up in the air. That's why. Oh, it didn't even hit the catcher. He just turned.
Man.
Pop Newsom.
I don't think I've ever seen an umpire's mask come off like that.
And when you get hit in the mask, or for me, I didn't wear a mask, but the helmet, you get popped in the helmet, you still feel it. That was a pop right there.
Newsom got checked down by his teammates. Stays in the game, full count, the pitch. Lifted foul on the left side, and another freebie coming.
I got a slope to deal with over there too.
That's right.
First guy doesn't ever get the ball. The first guy that touches it.
Florida 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Austin dropped to a knee, and that gets a run home. Caglione was able to advance on the wild pitch, and then he comes home on the ground out by Shelton.
Vanderbilt clearly trading outs for runs at this point, up by 5 now.
The catcher, number 28, Luke Heyman.
2 down, and here's Luke Heyman. Nothing in 1. Did you play golf in Alexandria last week?
I did.
Did you play in flip-flops?
Showed up in flip-flops.
Okay.
And with a flower shirt, so I quickly, Ronnie Rance, who runs the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, quickly told me to Change shoes and change shirts. I might as well have played in flip-flops. I could have played better, probably.
Hey, Ronnie had to tell you to put shoes on? You were planning on playing in flip-flops?
No, I would have done that. He told me to change shirts. I had to wear the official shirt for that day. But we had a lot of fun. Scrambles are always better for me because, you know, there's no pressure. I think I had about 5 good shots out of 100.
Our buddy Kyle Peterson played in flip-flops yesterday and tripled 18.
Saw him pop one out of the sand, though, pretty close. Thought he was going to make it. We've got a video of that. Is KP better than Chris Burke? Do you know?
Yes, he's
okay.
He played in flip-flops and shot a 72.
That's strong. Obviously doesn't need any traction.
Two-two pitch. Ripped up the middle. Backhanded by Austin and off of his leather. And Luke Heyman pinballs it through the middle of the infield to reach with 2 outs here in the 8th inning.
Yeah, speaking of hot feet,
Ooh,
Brennan
right
Cyber right through the wickets, and R.J. Austin had a shot at it. Misjudged it and probably took a little bit of a seam hop over his glove and into center field. 2-out base hit for Luke Hyman with a run already in for Florida.
So here's Cade Curlin. Breaking ball for a strike. Curlin's been playing a little banged up lately. Sophomore from Tampa out of Berkeley Prep. Had a great year last year for Florida, freshman All-American. First team All-Conference. Had big home run totals. He also got hit by 22 pitches. It was the second most in a Florida single season behind David Eckstein, getting plunked 25 times back in 1997. You think Eckstein leaned into a couple?
I think he did. I think back in the day that was what you were supposed to do. I remember Chuck Nowlock, who I played with in Minnesota, like would lean over with his elbow, you know, and you could not throw that guy a strike. He right down the middle, ball one.
Curlin was also second to J.J. Schwartz for the freshman home run record. J.J. hit 18 his first year at Florida, including 4 in one game. This one will find the seats.
I think that happens when you think you can get in on a guy, right? The scouting report says we need to throw this kid inside. That's why I became really good at trying to get that barrel out and swatting that stuff away. It was no fun to get hit in Chicago in 30-degree weather, especially off the right elbow as a left-handed hitter.
Curlin's got a couple of hits. He's 2 for 3. You know those Little League coaches who wear T-shirts that say coach on the back? Well, there's no question who she is because she's got mama on the hat.
Yeah, the question is mama of who?
The real question is if Tennessee won't then take that hat, pair it with the daddy hat.
The mama hat. Very nice. Well done.
And she got a free baseball. 1-2 pitch. Caught the edge. 90 on the black. Pinch hitting here in the 8th. There was a more like beer pong.
No, it was ping pong, but it wasn't fair. I mean, he was just better than I was.
He didn't cheat. He just beat you.
Yeah. I had that thick paddle. I got a lot of excuses if you want to hear them. But
that's how Dari paid his way through college. He hustled folks in the mean
not know
streets of
that.
Tulsa. Took that to Norman with him.
Shouldn't have bet him then, huh?
Nope. Now you know. 5 home runs, 28 driven in for the freshman from Omaha. 1-2 now. To third, Dale Thomas. One down with Matthew Polk coming up. Six-1 Vandy. We still have Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Close things out today. What are you looking forward to most in the nightcap?
I think Mississippi State's going to host a regional, and they got 17 wins in the conference. So I mean, clearly a win would give them a little more advantage toward doing that. For Ole Miss, they've got a lot of work to do.
Bunt on the breaking ball and a toss over to first to retire Polk. 2 down. Yeah, for Ole Miss, it's pretty simple, right? You just got to win.
And 3 wins because right now they have a losing record.
But you can't win 3 games in one day, right?
No.
So you just win today, stay alive, try to win tomorrow, and they are the only team here where we can define precisely what is on the line for them.
Correct. And if they won today and they win tomorrow, but then they lose 2, they still have the losing record. So they'd have to go 3-0 to get to the semifinal, where you only play the 1 game. 3-1, that gives them a winning record and then gives them a chance to get an at-large bid.
1 game under 500 on the season for Ole Miss after a disastrous week, including a midweek loss to Southern Miss. And they never led in the 3 games against LSU. 0-2 now to Braden Holcomb. Oh. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball. Last chance for Florida is
in center field, so they had to replace some missing parts.
first pitch strike to Tyler Shelnut, 0-1. Jacob Humphrey has entered the game in left field for Vanderbilt, taking Troy Laneve's spot. Last chance for the Gators, down 5. Vandy looking for its 3rd win against Florida this season. And the Commodores have had Florida's number in Hoover. Looking to go 10-4 against the Gators here in the SEC tournament. The 1-2. Ground ball up the middle. Austin reaches it and fires to first. What a play by R.J. Austin.
That's a big arm you were talking about earlier in the game. Left side of the infield in high school, moves over to first base, second base, but you have to have a big arm to make this play. Body's moving away from the target to pick up the target, keep your left shoulder down, and an accurate throw all the way across to first base. And the usage of the green bag still out. Nice play by R.J. Austin.
Brody Donay is 0 for 3 tonight. Two and 0. In for a strike, 2-1. Stroke towards the gap in left center field. Off the bat of Brody Donay, and he will cruise into second base with a 1-out double.
Not too much damage done off of Brendan Cyber since he came in the game. Jack Kaggs with the base hit back in the 8th inning, scored the run, but Brody Donay gives Florida a little bit of life here in the 9th with 1 out. Hits the gap.
Florida trying to get something going with Dale Thomas at the plate. And a fastball in for a strike, 0-1. The Gators have trailed by 4 or more runs 19 times this season. They've only won 1 of those games. That was coming back from a 6-2 deficit to beat Mississippi State on March 29. Breaking ball for a strike, 0-2. Dr. Alleman and Kevin O'Sullivan trying to get the offense going here. Bottom of the order. Dale Thomas sends it into left center. Humphrey on a dead sprint and collides with the center fielder Hewitt. Ball popped up. And Hewitt finally to his feet. What a catch made with the collision. And Donay able to go from second to third, and they shared the baseball to get it back to the infield.
Well, those are the big gaps you were talking about. Center fielder Hewitt went a long way to try to make that play. And I think it was Hewitt who came up with it. Yeah, center fielder, and then the collision, and then the presence of mind to give the ball up so the run doesn't score. And Humphrey catches it quickly, gets it in, but the concentration level at that for Hewitt is another level. That was nice.
Looks no worse for Ware. Hewitt with that big catch and a home run to his name tonight. And that's a big second out with Michael Robertson at the dish. Outside of a major comeback tonight, Florida will have to sit on its metrics. Its #1 strength of schedule is number 20 KPI, 22 in the RPI, and sit and wait and hope that the bubble doesn't burst and that there are no bid thieves out there.
Yeah, and for Florida, I mean, for me, it's the series wins against A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, and Georgia. I mean, those are some horses right there. And
this ball is launched deep to right field. Polk at the wall. It's gone. 2-run home run, and the Gators aren't dead yet.
Nine holes, a lucky spot. Vanderbilt's 9-hole. Hewitt goes deep back in the 5th. And how about Michael Robertson? The extension on that ball to right field. 2-run shot with 2 outs. He's excited. Second home run of the year.
Yeah, and then 9-hole. Both Hewitt and Robertson were sitting on just one. Florida trying to make it happen with a 9th inning rally. And here's Ashton Wilson, who had a magnificent series at Georgia last weekend. Takes a cutter for a strike, 0-1. Chop to the right side, and Austin on the run. Delivers low and got it in time, and that will end the game. R.J. Austin with a fantastic play. And a
are deep in the game.
Shelnut watches 95 miss inside. For 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Tyler Shelnut had a 3-hit game in the finale at Georgia. And he rockets this one foul. Shelnut's from Lake City, Florida. Grew up a huge Gators fan. Lake City's only about 45 minutes away. Started his college career at Santa Fe Community College. He's a two-way player his first year, tied the school record with 19 home runs in 22. Check swing. He went 1-2.
People talk a lot about the 2-out base hits with runners in scoring position, and there's a hard way to kind of define that and what you do well in those situations. But for me, it's getting deep in counts. And it's a 1-2 count here. Obviously, Shelnut has to battle, but the more you see pitches, the more it becomes a hitter's advantage. And a lot of times pitchers will start off with the off speed with the guy on second. And so a lot of times hitters get themselves out. But as you can build the at bat, like one more pitch, gets by one more pitch, it's 3-2. You still don't really know because first base is open with 2 outs. But the deeper I felt like I got in counts with runners in scoring position, especially with 2 outs, the better chance I had.
So the 2-2 to Shelnut. Chops the fastball to short. Vastine charges, double pumps, and retires Shelnut. Gators still hitless with a runner.